Hey folks, so yep, Jack here with my second video of this series that I'm going to be doing on my League of Legends solo queue journey sort of vlog series that I'm going to be doing. In this episode, I wanted to talk about how I got started with League and what my journey's looked like so far. So I actually started playing League in end of 2021, right after Arcane came out. Essentially, I watched Arcane, wanted to try League of Legends because I loved it so much. I obviously loved Jinx in the series. What a character! If you haven't seen it, check it out. And yeah, once I started playing League, obviously played a lot of Jinx. Obviously, before you unlock the ranked games, level 0 to 30, you have to do a lot of normal games, so a lot of blind and a lot of draft picks. And in this sort of stage, I was doing a lot of bot lane Jinx and quite a lot of jungle as well. Jungle was actually one of the roles that I fell in love with really early on because I really liked the ability to impact a lot of the map, and I liked I don't know, there's something really stood out to me about the ability to ganking and being able to affect all the different lanes. And yeah, so for the first few months I kind of stuck to Master Yi. I played a few other champs. I played a lot of Diana as well. I played a lot of Kha'Zix, and eventually I actually found Kindred to be extremely fun once I unlocked her. And all throughout this time I was watching a lot of content on League from YouTube, from various places like Skillcapped. I think I watched a little bit of her Caillou for jungle stuff and a few other places. Really trying to learn as much about the game as I possibly could. Which was good and bad, because I think I probably was learning a lot that I didn't need to know at that stage of my journey, and it probably hindered me in some ways. I definitely learned more about the game, but if I was to go back and do it, I'd probably watch a little bit less content and play a bit more. But yeah, so like for the first 6 months, I was playing a lot of normal games in jungle, but as soon as I hit level 30, I'm not sure quite when that happened. It was probably March of last year, March of 2022. And I was desperate to play ranked. I was desperate. I found out about it and I was just like, oh yeah, ranked is definitely where I want to go to. And during that sort of stage, I was looking for a lot of content about League, including all the educational YouTube stuff, but I was also like consuming a lot of other stuff. I stumbled across the Broken by Concept podcast. If any of you know it, I was looking for any sort of entertainment, and I came across this podcast, and this is one of the best finds of my journey so far in League. Was this Broken by Concept podcast, which some of you may have heard of it, some of you may have not. Essentially, it's these two Aussie guys, two challenger Aussie players, who talk about their own League experiences, who run their own coaching programs, and they talk about their relationship with the game, and they try and help other people to develop a better relationship with the game and to improve at League of Legends and life in general. Would really recommend that if you haven't seen it or heard of it, go and give them a listen. Nathan and Curtis, the two guys that run it, are amazing. They coach mid lane and jungle respectively, but a lot of the lessons they talk about in the podcast itself translates across all positions, because it's a lot more to do with mindset and your approach to the game and how you want to learn, as opposed to positional specifics. So definitely go and check that out. But yeah, so as I was getting into this, I listened to like loads of their podcast episodes, and I think at some point during their podcast they mention what roles are sort of best to learn the game through. At the end of the day, playing what you love is definitely the most important thing. But they did say something that I sort of latched on to and found quite interesting, was that probably learning a lane before learning to play jungle would be a good way to approach it. Not strictly necessary. You can definitely play and learn the game through jungle alone, but starting with a lane, like mid lane, might be a good way to do it, because then you learn the importance of different areas of the game. You learn laning, which is like a huge part of the game, which I didn't realize playing jungle. I had no idea what my laners wanted to do as a jungler. So about May or June of last year, I switched to playing mid lane, since it had a lot of similarity to jungle in terms of you can have a lot of map impact, and some of the champions are similar. You can play a lot of assassins and so on, which I quite liked. So I switched, and I can't even remember who I started playing. when I started. It might have been, it was definitely still Assassins. It was things like Yoni, Talon. I think I played a little bit of Diana, but I was really struggling to find what champions I wanted to play. But I'm really glad I made the switch, and I've been playing mid lane ever since. One thing I did forget to mention was that when I initially got into ranked, I got placed in bronze 3, but playing jungle, I tried a lot of different champions like Kindred, and I very swiftly sort of dropped to iron 2 or 3 and stayed there for a good while. But once I made that switch to mid lane, I and started focusing on a couple of champions. I think it was mainly Yoni and Talon, maybe one other, I can't really remember. Once I did start focusing on 1 or 2 champions, I very, very slowly climbed to like Iron 1, and then at the very end of last season, at the end of season 12, I managed to sneak into Bronze 4 and just barely held on. Then over the pre-season, I really wanted to find play a champion that I really like to play and really focus on that. And the 2 champions I was really experimenting with were Aurelia and Akali. I really liked the skill expression, the high skill ceiling that came with those 2, and I found them really enjoyable to play in lane, so I focused on them. And finally, sort of at the midway point of mid-season, I decided, right, let's just go with Akali. She's an assassin that which I really like the playstyle of, and decided to stick with that. It got to end of pre-season, the start of the ranked season, and I did my placement matches and I got into Iron 1, which is fairly normal. It's very normal to be placed slightly below the rank you were last season, so that was no concern. And yeah, continued to one-trick Akali basically. And after a few weeks, maybe a month or so of playing, I got out of Iron 1 and got into Bronze 4. Yay! But this is where I guess I started to struggle a bit more. And I made one very, very important decision in around May. Not May. And I made one very important decision in around February, March time. And that was to join Coach Curtis's, who runs the BBC podcast, the Broken by Concept podcast. I joined his coaching program for below gold League of Legends players, which is the mid lane school, or the MLS. I joined that at the very beginning of March and immediately took to everything that was going on. If you're below gold, I would highly recommend checking out his program. I'm still in it to this day. It has a lot of really helpful resources and great community of people, so huge shout out to them. Upon joining, I made a couple of decisions to try and help better my chances of claiming and to improve at the game more quickly in general. And this was a lot to do with the recommendations that came from the MLS and Curtis and everyone in the MLS. And that was to start one-tricking a champion with a more simple identity. So I switched to Diana, who I actually had more games on than any other champion in the game. I played so many games of her in jungle and thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a switch and I'm going to play her in the mid lane. So I did, and still do to this point. So for the last 2 or 3 months now, I've been one-tricking Diana. And although I am still in Bronze 4, as you would be able to see if you checked my op.gg, I am so much more confident in how I play the game, and I feel like I understand it so much more. So I understand when people make the recommendation to one-trick a champion, especially when you're beginning and you're fairly new to the game. One-tricking a simple champion like a Diana or an Annie or something, it makes the game so much easier. And then when you get a little bit higher elo, then you can sort of branch out and play more complex champions. So that's my plan. And that sort of brings us to where I am currently, which is sitting in Bronze 4. I think I've played 126 games, maybe more, on Diana in ranked this season. Still going strong, still learning a lot. And yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to share in this video, but maybe in the next ones to come, I'll be sharing a bit more about specific things I'm working on, resources that I'm using, areas to focus on within the game itself, maybe some learning objectives or other resources. I don't know, if you're interested in hearing anything specifically, you can leave it in the comments, and yeah, I'd be happy to share what my thoughts are. There'll definitely be some mental struggles along the way that I'll definitely be sharing. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take it easy. Yeah, see you soon. Bye.